Peace and blessings, family. My name is Jay, and I want to talk to you guys today about the fifth house in astrology and what the fifth house deals with. So, with that being said, let's get right into it. So, the fifth house is a house that deals with our creativity and more so, how we like to, express ourselves creatively as an individual. And so, right off the bat, we can already see the similarity that this has between with the sign that this house rules over, which is Leo, which is what a fixed fire sign. And what does fixed fire mean? And being fixated and geared towards one's own way of being, um, being fixated and geared, being fixated and focused on, things dealing with one's own, um, creativity and imagination way of, expressing their self. So yeah, just so right at the bat, we just mentioned that little bit about the fifth house. We see that we see that similarity, that synergy between the sign and the house. And then what planet rules over Leo? The sun. And what is the sun? The sun is a fire planet. So we know this is but more so, I don't want to get so much into the fact that the sun is a fire planet. More so, what does the sun represent? The sun represents our wants and our actions and what we're consciously aware of. And then more so, talk about the actual sun itself. When you look at the sun in the sky, it's just sitting there, right? It's fixed. And what's it doing? It's giving off that heat, and radiating and illuminating and bringing life to, um, whatever is, or whatever is around it. And so, yeah, we can, we can see, we can see why, and when you know that, you can see why that, mainly the part where we're talking about the sun being set up in the sky and fixed in like one position and giving off that heat, that fire. We can, right off the bat, without even getting into too many details about any of the house, the sign, or the planet, we can see the similarity between the three, forming that trinity again, like all the houses do. So yeah, but let's move on and get a little bit more into detail with the house before I get to like the examples of how energy works in the house. So the fifth house is not only a house that deals with our creativity and how we like to express as an individual. It's also a house that deals with the things that we like to indulge in. The house that deals with fun and games, and what we have fun doing. Which could be revolving around things like gambling and recreational activities, and etc. And it's also a house that deals with like sex, romance, and drama, things like that as well. And then along with that, there's also a house that deals with it's also a house that is associated with children, the relationship that we have with children, and how we like to view children, things like that. And another thing that I could add, it's also a house that deals with the father as well. What kind of father we had growing up, or what our father was like, or the relationship we may have had with our father. So take it, look at it however you want to look at it. But yeah, all this that I just mentioned is pretty much, you know, deals, deals with the fifth house. Fifth house rules over. And anything that you can think about that could pertain to any of that is probably, can also be pertaining to fifth house energy. So yeah. Now, getting to the placements, for for their brief examples. I like to use my own placements because it's the easiest thing to it's the easiest way to present it. At least that's my opinion. But yeah, um, with with my placement, Venus in the fifth house, and I also have this in the sign Taurus, so I could just go along with Venus in the fifth house because Taurus is ruled by Venus. So when it comes to Venus in the fifth house, my placement, I like to be very, I like, I'm very, loving, caring, nurturing when it comes to things dealing with, my creativity, how to express my creativity as an individual, and also when it comes to my, and when it also came to my romantic interests, when I came to, showing them love, and giving to them, I used to, and that's, because Taurus is also here, I was prone to, overindulge in being too overgiving to loving the people that I was, attracted to, and that got me into, states of being, and different, thoughts, that were like very, resentful and vindictive, possessive, and things like that. at the time. But I learned to let go of those thoughts and it's mainly because I learned to stop, and it's mainly because I like learned to, not be so giving. Because the truth of the matter is, when we constantly give to people, we just set ourselves up to get taken advantage of, whether people are consciously doing it to us or not. Because we're spreading ourselves too thin, being too, open, and giving of ourselves to others. So yeah, like I was saying earlier, I just learned to not be so giving because of the fact that I was always giving um, to romantic partners, but just people, period. Because I always get into that state of resentment from always expecting that same amount of giving in return. So yeah, if you're a very compassionate person or you got Venus in the fifth house, you kind of know what I'm getting at. So yeah, and if not, don't worry, because when I do videos on planets and signs and planets in the houses, it's going to it'll be a lot more detailed and a lot more, and it'll be I'll go a lot more deeper and be a lot more interpretive with it, if that's even a word. So yeah, this is all these house videos are just like brief introductions, like a brief overview of what they deal with. So yeah, and with that being said, this is gonna be my take on the fifth house. And if as I say, if you enjoyed it, cool. More so importantly, if you got any criticism, constructive criticism, feedback, or any comments that you like to give, and if or any questions that you'd like to ask, feel free to put them down in the comments, and I'll get to them as quickly as I can and as best as possible. And yeah, well, with that being said, I'll talk to you guys later, and y'all have a good afternoon, and I love y'all. Peace.